meeting is called to order.
Wow. Maybe you should take that gavel back, Doctor. It's a little dangerous over here.
I'm feeling pretty good about myself right now. All rise.
Howard.
Holy cow. Who knew it would be a gavel at an board meeting? Now what do I do?
No. Just the agenda.
Oh, okay, well, we're calling to order the April 26th meeting of the MTA Board of Directors. Welcome, y'all. I think the first thing that we have to do is approve the minutes of the March 22nd meeting.
Thanks.
I'll offer a motion to approve.
Any discussion?
Second.
All right, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's time for my favorite part of the monthly board meetings, the public comments. We have a few. I think that Gail will be proud of the way I'm running this meeting right now. We have, let's see, would somebody take a video? Because I want her to know that I'm coming after her seat. Is this an elected position? Okay, we have 5 comments. I want to remind everybody that it is, you're
What'd you
limited.
put in the water?
Unfortunately, you're limited to 3 minutes.
Under Gail, but under you, it's 4 minutes,
You know, you
right?
have whatever you want of me. I get reelected. Sheila Hansen, is that you right there? Pretty lady on the front row. Let's give her a round of applause.
Happy birthday.
Hello. Number one, I would like to say, as a legally blind person who can't see very far, I like the big sign idea. I don't have to go like this to try to read the signs once you have those set up. I have, over the past couple of years or so, mentioned the Dollar General bus stop for Nolensville Road, where they get off. When they stop at Dollar General, it's an uneven ground. I'm just wondering if they might ever get level ground there or move the stop someplace. Or there's actually a bus stop further ahead of that's level ground. I still don't know why they don't stop there. Shoot, I'm drawing a blank on everything else. What did I have on my...
Transit meeting's not downtown.
Oh, yeah. Are they not going to be, they're going to be out White Ridge Road? So I was wondering if you might have given any thought to streaming the meetings. Because my lunch break, my boss lets me take an extra half hour or so for lunch break to come to these meetings because I work a block and a half away. But out in White Ridge Road or wherever, I wouldn't be able to do it. So just a suggestion, maybe think about streaming the meetings.
Sure.
So
Okay, great. Thank you.
don't know of anything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Peter O'Connor. Hey, Peter.
All right, yes. Okay. Kind of feel like I'd be like Johnny Carson coming up from behind the curtain, coming up here to the microphone, delivering a monologue. Okay, yeah. I have a few here that are, normally I keep mentioning every time I come. One, which is the custom service hours, need to be extended. From the time that the first bus leaves here in the morning to the time that the last bus completes its run, because there's still people out there even after custom service hours closes. There's still people out there that, for one reason or another, need help, and also again need bus service hours to be extended, especially on the weekends. Because a lot of people I know kind of wonder, it's rather strange that the buses quit early on Friday and Saturday nights. Harding Place apartment complex where I live at, fortunately we're getting sidewalk, crosswalk, traffic light and everything put up out there, and they took the shelter down, understandably, because they're doing the construction. I'm hoping that they will put the shelter back in its place when they get done. Also, as Sheila's mentioning about the 52A at the Dollar General Market, which is considered to be the end of the line, it would be much preferred if the end of the line could be moved to behind the Walgreens. It would be even much more safer for that bus to be, if it's going to sit there for a spell of time. And people that need to walk to Kroger's or whatever, like myself, don't have to walk that far because we can get off right there in front of it. Also, not to forget that the bus stop on the south side of Harding Place, once the traffic lights are up and running, we get that stop moved down to where the traffic lights will be. That way people will not keep on trying to cross the street when they got traffic lights right down there.
About 20 seconds left.
Okay, I'm done.
That's it. All right. On time. What's that? Thank you, Peter. Let's see. Who's lucky? James Thomas? Come on up. I saw you voting the other day over at the Howard School building. Yeah. I was across the room.
I only got about 3 today, but I do want to agree with these guys on the 52A run issues. On the 3rd of this month, the 648 bus from the jailhouse arrived at Harding and Tampa at 7:05, which is like 17 minutes late. It only takes 10 minutes to do that section run. Why take 17 minutes? I was downtown that same day on the 3rd, and the bus number 708, which is the 52A bus, that's at Bay 19, was supposed to leave at 10:45. The driver did not show up at 10:50. The bus left at 10:53. If the drivers could be there 3 to 5 minutes before departure time, they'd probably more likely be able to leave on time, which won't make it so far down when we head out. On the 23rd, bus number 816, number 4 Herman Street, left here at 8:15. The driver loaded the passengers, went to the restroom. When he came back, there's probably about another half dozen passengers on the bus, and the driver didn't say anything about anybody else that just came on the bus needs pay. And I know at least 2 got off around Goodwill, and a couple more may go off at Mary Hospital. So we'll make sure that drivers are more aware of people getting on the bus before they get back and after they leave.
Thank you very much. John Bull, I see you back there.
Yep, here we go.
Frequent rider, y'all know me by now. Delighted that y'all are emphasizing maintenance, technical issues, especially training for the maintenance and the technical staff. It's the buses are getting complicated and they need to be running, to be sure. The cleanliness for the buses, I note that fiberglass seats are coming online for the newest batch. That's a really good deal in my opinion, to be sure. And cleanliness is certainly an issue with the buses. And a minor thing, the shelter has not been replaced at 2nd and Union inbound in front of, Grumpy's Bell Bond, which is a transfer point. But that's it. If I had my guitar, I'd play Three Little Birds.
Well, I would love to play Three Little Birds. I do love that song. Darius, you back there? What is your? I don't know your writing. So Knight, is that your last name?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Good afternoon. First off, I want to start by, the ones that keep bringing up about the Nolensville Road, the Dollar General, the end of the line thing. I just want to say this really quick. In 2012 to 2013, the original end of the line was at that Walgreens, behind the Dollar General, but they actually changed it after I had to complain multiple times, calling in the customer service to the staff and management there about buses leaving before they were supposed to, and they were actually not coming all the way down to Old Hickory Boulevard. So that's what prompted them to actually change that. Don't live out there anymore, but I ended up having to walk from Old Hickory Boulevard and Nolensville Road all the way down to Harding Place. So that was the reason why they changed it after they sent the supervisors out to actually view that the drivers were actually not going all the way to the end of Old Hickory Boulevard. So just wanted to say that quickly. There are some things that I think are not really much an issue, but I would say more like recommendations, fixing bus routes so that it shows online. I think the way that everything is set up online, when you actually look at the schedules, actually needs to be changed. That concept that you guys have, like when they do the biannual changes with the little Plinko type stuff, I think y'all may want to incorporate that online. And then instead of all of the bus routes being lined up together, separate them, because then that would actually give people a way of knowing which routes are express, which ones are neighborhood routes, and so on and so forth with BRT. The other thing that I'd want to kind of speak about kind of goes into the transit plan. I don't really believe in a lot of the stuff that is gone into that transit plan. I think your main two stay areas for light rail should be Clarksville, Tennessee, and Murfreesboro, Tennessee, because that's where the majority of the people are literally having to drive from, and that's where your traffic is really going to end up being. The other thing, too, that I want to bring up, you might want to look at some of your routes. We used to do this probably a decade ago. Some routes at night after 6:15 were connected as one. I think that would really save you guys a lot of money on some of these routes at night because there are not that many people on them. And instead of you wasting money on routes that there are not there, don't get rid of the route. Just find one that's closer to it, add it into there where there are people that get on the bus very frequently. So then that way you're covering more of an area. Also, I feel like a lot of our routes are really what I would consider neighborhood routes, and they really shouldn't even come downtown at all. They should be connecting to your main routes like your 15, your 10, your 52 routes of that nature. Also want to bring up, you need to find some way to connect Trinity Lane and Dickerson Road and Gallatin Road. I find that there are quite a few people that get off on the Gallatin Road side, and on the Dickerson Road side, they kind of have to walk down Trinity Lane. And if you guys were not aware, there is a housing development like off of Trinity Lane that just recently opened up not long ago. They have no bus. And the only bus that literally goes close to there is the 41, and that's even a good distance for those people to literally walk. And also the Nashville Tennessean also has a building close to there. So that would actually kind of benefit them to get their workers to and from. The other things I want to bring up.
I'm sorry to stop you because you always have such good input, but your time is up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I actually gave you a bunch of time, extra time.
All right.
So, but I do want you to know that crosstown routes are part of that plan.
Right.
Not having to have every bus come downtown, so we hear you.
Yeah.
Totally hear you. Thank you. Now, wasn't that fun? Is it time to, it's not time for this, is it? So, thank you very much. I tell my whole family about the public comment section of this meeting. They almost came here today. Okay, we're going into the Operations and Finance Committee portion of the board meeting with Walter Searcy as the chair.
All right, thank you, Comrade Hannah. We have one action item of the committee today, and that's regarding the recommendation of staff, the recommendation of the committee pursuant to the recommendation of staff to provide Steve with the authority to utilize state contract to purchase network communication products to the tune of not more than $1.5 million through May of next year. Metro Capital Funds and the 5307 funds will be assigned by task order. This is the recommendation of the committee. Being a recommendation, Madam Chairperson, I request that this matter be passed.
I'll second.
All in favor? You don't have to second. Ed's over there shaking his head like we've done something wrong. Done something wrong.
Ed's been waiting for that.
Nervous with him over there.
So what do we do now?
That's it.
That's
Done.
it. Done. It's done. So now we move on to the NICE committee.
Just before that, if, as part of the operations and finance, we could just have a note in the minutes relative to the CFO's presentation of the debt obligation notice.
That's right.
As required by the Office of State
We had that
Comptroller.
discussion. That's correct.
So we could just record on the minutes that the board was made aware of our debt obligation notice as required by the Office of State Comptroller.
Great. So now we got a lot of things to do in the NICE committee recommendations.
It's all on me.
You are not Janet Miller.
I am
You don't look
no
anything
Janet
like
Miller.
You take over then.
The New Initiatives and Community Engagement Committee, we entertained a number of action items and informational items. The ones that took, were requested action, board action, was, first one was A18005, the Gresham Smith and Partners A&E contract extension that included an additional, that approved the chief executive officer the authority to execute a one-year contract extension through December 31st, 2019, and a not-to-exceed value from $2 million to $3 million. And then additionally, the chief executive officer to continue support of the Murfreesboro Pike TSP MCC renovation and Nestor renovation, which will be included in that as well. There was A18007 request for bus procurement contract adjustment and the van procurement contract adjustment in the 18008. Both of those to adjust the contracts on order with Gillig Corporation to increase the amount for rebranding. There was 18009 requesting that committee recommend board approve give chief executive officer authority to enter into a contract with the public park system for the initial 3-year term with an option to exercise 2 additional 1-year term options to provide the following: the park and ride and optional tasks with the regional park and rides to support the commuter bus services. So, and with that, the committee recommends adoption.
Because it was a committee recommendation, we don't have to vote on it, is that correct?
Well,
You have to vote, you don't need a motion.
We don't need a second,
need a
so
second.
we just
okay.
vote.
that's correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 It's approved. There's no
That's
nays?
for,
No
We
names.
know which, can you tell me which ones were approved, just the,
So,
I only heard 3 of those, that there were 4.
you have.
Oh, there were 4. Okay, I missed one.
5 altogether, A18006, A18007, A18008, A18009.
Oh, I put 4, and I read them separately, but I put the van and the bus procurement
together,
adjustments.
that's right,
I mentioned them,
and A18010.
yeah. They were for the same purpose, just one was van, one was the,
Do we have to vote again? We already passed it.
I'll let Tyler render a judgment.
No,
I only act like an attorney, I'm not actually licensed.
it's actually the chairperson's
No,
call.
I think as long as everybody is agreed on what we were voting on, I just wanted to be clear.
Right.
yeah.
Thank you for that clarification. So now we turn to the chair's report.
Buckle up, everybody.
This might be my first time in this seat, but it is not my last. I'm running for Gail's seat real soon. I want.
It's a hostile takeover.
It's a hostile takeover, isn't it? 'Cause if you don't show up,
First you took over from me, now she's going to take over from Gail.
that's right, just, if you don't show up, somebody did their job, right? No, we're facing some really exciting days right now, aren't we? Yeah.
The next few especially.
Just encourage everybody you can to get out there and vote. That is the only thing that's on my mind these days, is to get people out to vote. Now that we've passed the YWCA spring breakfast, that's on my mind.
That's good.
Do you have anything to say, Walter?
Ditto.
Ditto.
Vote.
What about you,
Vote.
Glenn?
Don't have anything else to add.
All right, well, I'm going to pass it over to the CEO.
Thank you, Madam Hannah. I'm not sure.
You can call me anything you want, President.
A few things. Appreciate everyone hanging in for pretty long, but I think a very substantive set of committee meetings and board meeting. Just a few things to update you on. I think it probably goes without saying, but we've had a whole bunch of staff participating in the presentations and group discussions on Let's Move Nashville. So I want to publicly thank everybody who's been doing nights and weekends, folks who don't usually do these things. They've been very well received. And while the effort may drop off a bit after Election Day, clearly the amount of community engagement has been very positive and something that we will definitely continue. Our folks in Access Ride continue to work with our contractor, Taxi USA, on the overflow trips. Good news is they are making improvements. We are seeing improved results. The bad news is not as fast as we or a lot of our customers would like. So that effort continues. And I want to thank particularly Dan Freudberg and Marilyn Yoakley for their work in that area. On the other hand, our Access on Demand pilot program continues, and the early indications are very positive. So Dan will be coming to the NICE committee in May to talk about an evaluation framework. So now we will be in that long enough to collect some data and start to evaluate it for long-term implications. We'll be kicking around what that evaluation framework will be. Late last night, the General Assembly wrapped up their 2017-2018 session. Last year was highly dramatic. Please thank your husband, Tyler, for his efforts. Last year was very dramatic because of the Improve Act. This year, not quite so much in the transportation realm. Probably the key piece of legislation that was passed was they passed a law legally allowing TDOT to institute a statewide rail safety oversight program. Doesn't directly affect MTA immediately. It does affect RTA and the Music City Star. Where it does affect MTA and the other transit operators in the state was if Tennessee hadn't done that, there would have been a very real threat to our federal transit funding because it is legally required under federal law. So please thank Senator Yarbrough and his colleagues for doing that. Several staff members traveled to Atlanta earlier this week for our quarterly meeting with the Federal Transit Administration. One of the topics on the agenda was the regional administrator asking me how that law was going. Fortunately, it had been passed by then, so we were able to report positively. We talked about a number of projects, ongoing issues. We spent a fair amount of time actually on the referendum question and what happens, really, if whichever way it goes, but also a considerable amount of time on the Murfreesboro Road Transit Signal Priority Project, which is funded with federal Tiger funds in large respect. And then with respect to that project, I thought Trey and our contract project manager, Jody, did a great job reviewing the project. We're on schedule. We're about a third of the way through the total project if you include design, and we are on schedule to complete construction. It's under construction now in the Murfreesboro Road corridor, and we are on target to finish it in mid-2019. A couple weeks ago, I think I still see Jason in the audience. Jason, thank you so much for wearing a tie today. I know that's an extra effort for you.
I'm going to start a Minzer sartorial corner and train people to come up for fashion tips.
Can you start with Dooley? Because he produced.
Well, he's competing with James Thomas on the Beard Award, you know?
Exactly. So, but thanks to the work of Jason and his group, we were able to partner with Mayor Briley and the Metro Arts Commission on a Poetry in Motion kickoff project. Kind of neat. We had a lot of Nashville's young poets read their poetry, and we were out in the plaza on a freezing cold day. But particularly impressive was we have a bus wrapped with the poetry and the names of the kids. And it was pretty neat to watch the kids and their parents go up and look for and find their poem on the bus and have their pictures taken with it. So it was one of those little things We're not going to carry 10,000 more riders because of it, but it was just another piece of outreach into the community that was really very impressive. So thanks, Jason, for your efforts on that. Twice a year, I have the opportunity to teach for our National Transit Institute. I did that this past month at a session out in Seattle for a whole bunch of maintenance managers on transit business strategy. So that's always interesting. And then on my way out there, I actually also had the opportunity, our sister agency in Las Vegas asked me to speak to their advisory committee on our N-Motion process, so I had the opportunity to do that. For the record, recorded in the minutes, the extent of my visit to Las Vegas entailed a ride from the airport to the conference center, 3 hours of meetings, and a ride back to the airport from the conference
Well, that
center.
is about 2 hours too much.
That's right, since there are slots in the airport, in every elevator.
So as far as I'm concerned, Tyler, what happens in Vegas is fully available to the public record. We got together with a number of our elected officials and community leadership from Madison, the Madison neighborhood, during the past month to talk broadly about both the Let's Move Nashville activities if the referendum passes in that neighborhood, but just broader service improvement and project strategies. Great deal of interest in that neighborhood on the whole issue of a potential neighborhood transit center up there. So that was a very positive meeting. I want to thank, I was talking to Tyler during our break, I wanted to thank in absentia our chair, at least for the moment, Gail Carr-Williams, for conducting another panel on transit at Vanderbilt University. She had a couple hundred folks show up there, but what was really interesting about it was also on the panel were Gail and Senator Yarbrough. So it was almost like an old home week for the MTA, and as Tyler mentioned, Jeff's take was, yeah, it was a pretty stacked panel, one way or the other. And then also in the audience were Marion Ott and Freddie O'Connell, so it definitely was, kind of a throwback for me. As I said to the audience, if I say anything that offends you, 80% of the people who hired me are here, so take it up with them. Finally, I always try to, well, not next to finally, because I always want to close on a good news item, not that this isn't, just to update you on a number of the RTA items that we've been working on. Our progress continues on our Hamilton Springs Station. Now that the rain has stopped, which is sort of odd for me to say today, but it's at least slowed down. They're making good progress, and we will have opening of that facility scheduled in August. I reported last month that we were still working with Federal Railroad Administration on getting what's called a limited service exception so that we could delay implementation of positive train control on the Music City Star, which is about a $30 to $40 million project. We did get that approval this past month, so that was kind of a sigh of relief for an awful lot of us. Just yesterday, the General Assembly, before they completed their session, extended the RTA's life for another 2 years. That passed unanimously in both the Senate and the House. Also this past month, we joined with Cumberland Region tomorrow and the Transit Alliance of Middle Tennessee to do a transit forum in Murray County. So I reported last month the City of Columbia just recently joined the RTA. They're interested in getting service extended down there. And then finally, relative to that, we are getting ready to kick off in this next month with the Nashville Area Metropolitan Planning Organization a South Corridor study, so looking at some of the high-capacity options we have serving the Davidson, Williamson, Murray County alignment. And also, because for an odd governance reason, all of our governor's appointees to the RTA come up for reappointment at the same time. I've been doing orientation meetings with our 4 new members from Dixon, Cheatham, and Robertson counties. We also have an opening in Rutherford yet that has not yet been appointed. And then my last comment for the day is, if any of you aren't aware, Mayor Briley has declared tomorrow Predators Pride Day. So please take advantage. MTA employees are not just allowed but encouraged to wear their Predators gear. And we will be posting on social media and our webpage Rick Dooley in his Predators paraphernalia. It could go viral, and when it gets back to Philadelphia, he will not be allowed back in that city.
This just increases our chances to keep him at MTA.
Yeah, we will make sure he has nowhere else to go. So with that, and final, let's go Preds, Madam Interim Chair, soon-to-be Chair, or whatever we want to call you, that concludes my
Be a great day for
report.
MTA right there. Is there any other business?
Having none.
If having none, we are, wait for it.